letting people know, like, now I can explain decisions I made with a clear head. You know what I'm saying? Like, back then, I really didn't know shit. I was just trying shit out, so I shouldn't have been so vocal about it.
Iman Shumpert had to make a one-time 7-figure payment to Teyana. What? That's crazy. What is that about, roundabout? What do you think?
$1 million or more.
This would be like my healing chapter. I was worried about that. A lot of wounds are being closed.
Stop scrolling for a second, because what unfolded inside that courtroom between Teyana Taylor and Iman Shumpert was not just another celebrity divorce headline. It was the kind of moment that makes an entire room go silent, the kind that lingers long after the doors close and the judge steps away from the bench. $10 million. That single number froze the air. Fans, reporters, even seasoned court officials needed a moment to process what they had just heard. And when Teyana stood, adjusted her blazer, and walked out with her legal team behind her, head high, shoulders steady, eyes forward, it felt cinematic. Final. Unreversible. But what truly stunned everyone wasn't her exit. It was Iman's reaction. Hands trembling. Eyes glassy. A man who had spent years in front of roaring crowds suddenly exposed in the most vulnerable way possible. The moment he broke down, right there in open court, whispers spread like wildfire. No one expected it to reach this point. No one imagined the divorce would become this emotional, this public, or this costly. Yet this outcome wasn't sudden. It wasn't impulsive. It was the result of years of strain, quiet sacrifice, unresolved resentment, and a financial imbalance that finally demanded acknowledgement. When the judge delivered the ruling, it felt less like a decision and more like the closing chapter of a story that had been unraveling long before the public ever noticed. To truly understand how things reached this point, you have to look past the polished images and curated moments. Forget the red carpets, the Instagram reels, the coordinated outfits, and the family photo shoots. The real story lived in the spaces between those moments. Late-night arguments, difficult conversations, exhaustion that never fully lifted, and responsibilities that weren't shared equally. At one time, Teyana Taylor and Iman Shumpert seemed untouchable. They were the couple people admired, the creative force and the athlete, the visionary and the protector. Together, they embodied ambition, style, and confidence. Their bond appeared solid, inspiring, and full of promise. But behind closed doors, the balance was shifting in ways most people couldn't see. Teyana was everywhere. Recording music, directing visuals, choreographing performances, managing brand partnerships, and at the same time, showing up as a full-time mother. Her schedule was relentless, but she kept going because someone had to. When she later spoke about feeling unseen and unappreciated, it wasn't only about emotions. It was about responsibility. It was about carrying the weight of a household while trying not to let the cracks show. Iman had his moments of success in basketball, but his career wasn't always stable. Contracts changed. Injuries interfered. Seasons ended. Income fluctuated. And every time uncertainty crept in, Teyana quietly stepped up. She didn't announce it. She didn't complain publicly. She simply did what needed to be done to keep their lives moving forward. Inside the courtroom, that reality finally surfaced. People seated in the gallery described stacks of documents, folders filled with spreadsheets, timelines, and records that stretched back years. Teyana's legal team methodically laid everything out: marital assets, financial contributions, household expenses, and long-term support patterns. Each folder revealed another layer of a story that had never been fully told. Iman entered the courtroom visibly tense. He rubbed his hands together repeatedly, avoided eye contact, and leaned in close to his attorney whenever money was mentioned. Every figure read aloud seemed to tighten his posture. Every contribution attributed to Teyana felt like another weight pressing down on him. It wasn't that he didn't know what was coming. It was that knowing didn't make it easier to face. Teyana, on the other hand, was composed in a way that caught people off guard. She wasn't icy. She wasn't angry. She looked resolved. Finished. The kind of calm that comes only after someone has already fought their internal battles and accepted the outcome. Witnesses noted how little she moved, how steady her gaze remained, how she showed no visible reaction as numbers and dates were read aloud. Emotionally, it seemed she had already crossed the bridge before stepping into the room. Then came the turning point. Her attorney stood and began outlining the true financial dynamics of the marriage. There was no theatrics, no character attacks, just facts. Dates, payments, receipts, periods when her income carried the household, times when she covered major expenses alone, investments she funded to maintain stability, moments when exhaustion didn't matter because responsibility didn't pause. The courtroom grew quieter with every page turned. Observers said the judge appeared genuinely surprised, not because Iman had been negligent, but because the imbalance was far greater than anyone outside the marriage had realized. When side-by-side comparisons of financial contributions were displayed, the tension became almost physical. Iman stared down at his clasped hands, knuckles pale from the pressure. When asked if he wished to respond, he didn't look up immediately. He took a breath, slow and controlled, as if holding himself together by sheer will. Then the ruling came. Based on the evidence presented, the court determined that Teyana Taylor was entitled to a financial settlement totaling $10 million. The number echoed through the room. Gasps followed. Even people waiting outside later said they could sense something seismic had happened. Iman's head snapped up. His eyes widened. His lips parted as if repeating the figure to himself, trying to make it real. And when it finally settled in, when the magnitude of the decision became undeniable, he broke. First came the stillness. Then his head dropped into his hands. His shoulders began to shake. His attorney leaned in, speaking softly, trying to ground him. Across the room, Teyana did not turn. Not once. Her focus stayed forward, fixed on the judge. Those who witnessed it said it wasn't coldness. It wasn't cruelty. It was closure. The emotional weight didn't stop with finances. Custody was addressed next, and that was when Iman finally spoke. His voice cracked as he talked about his children, how deeply he loved them, how much he needed them in his life. He admitted his flaws. He admitted he was still trying to find his footing. At one point, his voice dropped to a whisper as he said, "Please don't take them from me." The room shifted. Even the lawyers paused. Teyana didn't interrupt. She didn't accuse or argue. She spoke calmly, explaining that her priority was stability, routine, and emotional safety for their children. She emphasized consistency and peace, not punishment. According to those present, the judge listened carefully, nodding in acknowledgement. The message was clear. This decision wasn't about winning. It was about protecting the children's well-being. When the hearing ended, energy surged through the courtroom. Reporters scrambled. Lawyers gathered their materials. Murmurs filled the space. Teyana rose first, composed and deliberate. She collected her belongings, straightened her posture, and walked toward the exit without looking back. Her legal team followed closely, forming a quiet, professional barrier around her. Outside, cameras flashed instantly. Questions flew. Was the settlement fair? Did she expect this outcome? How did she feel? She didn't answer. She didn't react. She stepped into a waiting black SUV and drove away, as if closing a door she had already emotionally locked. Inside, Iman remained seated. His attorney spoke gently, encouraging him to stand, to breathe, to regroup. But he wasn't ready. In a single morning, his financial reality, family structure, and sense of stability had shifted. The weight of it all pressed heavily on him. Online reactions exploded. Some praised Teyana, saying she deserved every dollar after years of holding everything together. Others argued that no one truly wins in a divorce, especially when children are involved. Some defended Iman, pointing out how harsh divorce settlements can be and reminding people that outsiders never see the full picture. And that part is true. The public only knows what was revealed in court. The rest, the private conversations, the emotional negotiations, the moments of regret and love, belong only to them. Reports suggest Iman is considering an appeal, feeling overwhelmed by the settlement and unsure how to move forward. Friends close to him say he's struggling, barely sleeping, trying to process the loss of not just money, but identity and structure. Teyana, meanwhile, isn't celebrating. She's not posting. She's not doing interviews. Those close to her say she's focused on healing, on creating a calmer environment for her children, and on rebuilding parts of herself that were quietly worn down over time. And according to sources, there may be more, documents still sealed, details not yet disclosed, pieces of the story that remain private, at least for now. What's certain is this: what happened in that courtroom wasn't just a legal ruling. It was the end of one chapter, and the beginning of two very different journeys forward.